Hello, good morning, and welcome to Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. It is a beautiful Saturday morning right here in the nation's capital, and we're here to bring you nothing but the very best and make sure that you kickstart your weekend on the best note possible. Well, my name is Ibrahim Yusuf, welcoming you to the show this morning. And of course, I'm not alone right here in the studio.
Yes, he is never alone, by the way, every Saturday. And it looks like we're wearing the same thing.
Exactly.
Yes, good morning to you. It's a beautiful Saturday indeed. It's a weekend. A lot of people are unwinding. A lot of people are chilling in their houses. Some are traveling, but there is still a lot of queue. Like a lot of queue on the roads. In fact, it is so bad that they've blocked some of the roads. So you need to be careful. If it's absolutely not necessary for you to actually step out, just stay at home. Okay? I'm Dasha and Husseina Osman, and we'll be with you from now up until 10 a.m. Yes. All right. So today we'll be discussing a lot of things. Yes. We actually have an artist coming in later. Yeah. So we'll be discussing and, talking to him about what music is all about and, his interest and, everything that has to actually do with music. And besides that, we'll also be talking about hair.
Yes.
Hair. Black hair. There's a difference between black hair and white hair.
Well, there's a difference between black people here and white people
Of course.
Yes.
So, we'll be talking about hair. And as usual, Ibrahim is really, really super geared, super excited to find out what is it? Why is hair so special?
Yes,
exactly.
exactly.
I bet you don't know that there are like over 6 or 7 types of hair.
Okay.
Like natural hair.
Really?
You didn't know that?
My
goodness.
How would I know that?
All right, that's good. All right, yes. But before we get into that, we'll also be taking, the dailies and, reviewing papers from major newspapers from around the world just after this break. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. It is still, we are just starting the newspaper review. And on my hand here is Daily Trust Saturday. Yes, and Daily Trust Saturday is what we will be starting with. On the front page here, we have a lead story that says Buhari signs electoral bill, rejects exclusion of appointees from primaries. Wow. And then we have riders that says INEC holds emergency meeting today to begin implementation immediately. We also have will address president's request on political appointees, says Lawang and Gbajabiamila. It's a huge relief, says governors. It's a step towards free, fair polls, says Atiku and Saraki. And right beside it, you'll still find major highlights of the Electoral Act 2022. Now, details of that story can be found on page 4 of Daily Trust Saturday as well. Moving on to the cover story, terror on education, untold story of out-of-school children in North Central. Farmer-herder communal crisis take toll in Benue. Returning villagers convert burnt school to church in Nasarawa. Niger parents fear for children's safety, and details of this cover story can be found on page 5 and 6. And we have a feature story that says how Buhari brought fortunes to Daura on page 26. And also Sokoto IDPs, tales of displacement and despair. That's on page 25. Right at the top, you'd find stories saying a billionaire kidnapper, Evans, 2 others sentenced to life imprisonment on page 7. And then on page 8, a story that says why we can't intervene in Sunday Igboho's trial, says ECOWAS court. And if you take a look at the back page, you'd see the backhand there, that's the cartoon. And it talks about, there's a cartoon of Russian President Vladimir Putin on a pulpit, and he's saying, "Come on, everyone, we're just having a harmless brotherly chat." And he's actually seen holding the neck of Ukrainian president. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to more stories from more newspapers.
Well, the next newspaper we're going to look at is the Saturday Punch, and on the top of the front page, the headline there reads, Buhari signs electoral bill, demands fresh amendment. INEC meets today. And the rider says we'll consider review when formal communication is received, says Lawan. That is on the front page of Saturday Punch. Right beside that headline is another one, something we just talked about this morning. Fuel scarcity persists. NMPC engages security agencies to tackle distribution hitches. Well, that is also another story. It can be found on page 6 of the Saturday Punch. Another story on the front page says, ignore those saying I'm sick. I have mental capacity to lead Nigeria. That is attributed to Tinubu. And that story is on page 7. The major headline on the front page of Saturday Punch this morning reads, it's too risky to evacuate 5,600 Nigerians in Ukraine now, says the federal government. And riders there on that story, Nigerians fleeing Russia-Ukraine war stranded at Poland border, say police bar entry, demand visas and authorization letters. And another rider that says, we're hiding in bunkers, internet down, can't get food, fuel. And those are students, Nigerian students in Ukraine trying to flee the conflicts there. Another headline on the front page of Saturday Punch says, judge sentences Evans to life jail, says convict not remorseful. That story is on page 6 of the Saturday Punch. Edo Bank's robbery lasted more than 2 hours, was like war. That is attributed to the Uromi monarch, who actually said that. And a rider there that says 34.5 million naira vehicles recovered. Another interesting headline on the front page of the Saturday Punch says, Buhari's performance not good enough. I'd do better if elected president. That is coming from a 102-year-old aspirant. So if you want to find out why she believes she can do better, you can turn to page 14 of the Saturday Punch. Below on the front page, still, my son's death at ex-Governor Daniel's house, an act of God. That is attributed to the father of late Sergeant Ogunshola. That story is on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Total Varsity shutdown looms as SANU others threaten strike. That is another story on the front page of the Punch. And on the bottom of that front page, the headline reads, military rules out coup in Nigeria, hiring mercenaries to fight terrorists. Well, if you want to find out why these mercenaries have been hired to fight terrorists, then you can pick up the Saturday Punch for this morning.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the Guardian newspaper. And we have a lead story there that says, INEC summons emergency meeting over new electoral act. Commission to study law for implementation. Buhari seeks further amendment. Ignore president's requests. CSOs urge NAS. Lawal Gbajabiamila praised 9th Assembly. APC PDP exchange fireworks and it's a new dawn, says Atiku and Saraki. Details of that on page 2. And then on Guardian Music, there's a pictorial there of a picture there of Scales saying sweet distractions of Scales. I'm sure it's actually an interview on Scales. All right, so total shutdown of universities looms as NASU SANU mall strike. Details of that can be found on page 3. We also have Experts decry rejection of Nigerian foods in international market. This is really a sad one. That's on News Extra on page 28. And then on the footnotes there, you'd find Russia invasion. Ukraine gets first military aid from Poland, says page. You find that details of that story on page 3. If you go to the top there on Guardian Woman, Chidi Anyasodo says many people confuse infatuation with love. And then we also have more stories in the Guardian newspaper if you get a copy. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to more stories.
The next newspaper we're going to be looking at is The Nation newspaper, which is has the front page dominated by the headline Electoral Act, Row as Buhari seeks amendment of newly signed law. And the writers there says SANS disagree over request to modify Section 84, subsection 12, and what Lawan Gbajegbe-Amila discussed with President. Another rider reads, NINEC meets today over poll timetable, and APC, PDP, Atiku Saraki, others hail signing of Act. That is the major headline on the front page of The Nation. On top of the masthead there's another headline that reads, Constitution Review. Bill seeks to make Senate President, Speaker, Security Council members. And riders there that says traditional rulers to get constitutional role and diaspora voting coming. Those are stories that can be found on the Nation newspaper, specifically on page 5. Osun APC primaries appeal panel dismisses Aregbesol's camp's petition. That is on page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Another headline that reads is Evans, 2 others get life imprisonment for kidnapping businessmen. That story is on page 2, while another story here reads, 2023, I'm not applying for bricklaying job, says Tinubu. So for details of that story, turn to page 7 of The Nation. And those are the headlines on the front page of The Nation newspaper this Saturday.
All right, we'll take the final newspaper here, which is Tribune, Saturday Tribune. And at the top there, you'd see Governor Abiodun promises tough action against ritual killings on page 6. And then on the Electoral Act, lawmakers to consult on section barring ministers, others from contesting posts. And a rider that says Buhari applauded for signing an electoral bill into law, and that's on page 6. The lead here says Nigerian students trapped in Ukraine cry for help, and saying we're citizens of Nigeria and we need help. Please don't neglect us. Don't leave us alone. We have some more riders that say they can't be evacuated now. We've shut airspace, says Ukrainian ambassador. And then we also have hundreds escaped to Poland by road. And right below that particular lead, we have, we never disrespected Emir of Kano, says Air Peace. And then Tinubu here saying, I am not sick, I only repaired my knee. And he says, I won't let Nigerians down. And then finally, film on Ayinde Barrister coming soon, says Kelani. These are the stories on the front page of Tribune. And with that, we've reeled out stories from every page of these particular newspapers. Now let's go to Daily Trust newspaper and see what we can actually, discuss. Talking about the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Buhari has actually finally signed this bill into law, and a lot of people are excited. But that particular clause, of excluding appointees from primaries is becoming, somewhat controversial. What do you think about this?
Well, it all depends from from where you look at it. A lot of people believe that actually appointees, when they vie for political offices, have an unfair advantage being part of the government at that particular point in time, exactly, and they shouldn't be allowed to run. But at the same time, they are Nigerians, and they should be allowed to run for by being Nigerians, they have the right to actually do that. So it depends on how you look at it, So it is something that a lot of politicians, a lot of lawyers and whatnot are having divergent views about. So I just hope it can be resolved amicably so that things can move on. At least the bill has been signed, which was something that has been raging for a very long time. Exactly. So we've been going back and forth about it. Well, right now it has been signed. Then maybe they should iron out the kinks so that we can get it on with.
Okay, so do you think that particular clause will be worked on or excluded
Well,
now that
definitely.
after he has actually signed it?
Well, definitely they'll talk about it, and they said they will talk about it. And what they do with it, that remains to be seen. But they definitely will talk about it, as it is the main issue right now being discussed. Earlier, it was the issue of primaries, how primaries were going to be held, and the selection process and whatnot.
And that was fixed.
Yes, and that has been rectified, or they have sorted that out. So now that remains the issue of the political appointees. Well, that remains to be seen what they come up with.
Okay, now the major highlights of the Electoral Act 2022 is INEC should provide electronic voting machine or any other voting device to determine the procedure for the transfer of results during the general elections. Nomination of candidates shall be by direct, indirect primaries or consensus. A political party that adopts a consensus candidate shall secure the written consent of all cleared aspirants. No political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress. And then election expenses by the president or by a presidential candidate should not be more than 5 billion naira. And then for governor, should not be more than 1 billion naira. If you ask me, that is still a lot of money. All right, now let's move on to the cover story, talking about terror on education and the untold story of out-of-school children in North Central. You know, we have the writers talking about communal clashes take toll in Benue State, not just in Benue State, you know, we have Niger, Sokoto, Zamfara, and, you know, more states. Let's not even go into Maiduguri because that's like, you know, the origin of where, you know, banditry and insecurity actually started. And then the Niger parents, you know, actually fear for their children's safety, saying that returning villagers have actually converted. You know, when a crisis like this happens, as Nigerians or as Africans, the first thing they do is actually turn to God.
Yes.
When situations change, when conditions change, you turn to God. And we have here that these returning villagers, you know, rather than, you know, work on themselves, you know, get themselves settled in to their communities and all that, they converted a burnt school into a church.
Yeah, well, they actually believe, well, it's just like you said, and when things go awry, then that is where we turn to, and we turn to a higher power to actually intervene and make situations better for us. So I think that is the priority for them, to actually get divine intervention on what they're currently facing. Insecurity has dealt a serious blow to a lot of things, a lot of people, lots of lives have been destroyed, lots of a lot of things have actually come due to insecurity, and it's something that is there. So it's not really it's not far-fetched that you find people seeking divine intervention to come and rescue them from this current situation. You know, when you read the kind of situation that these people are actually living in, it's really disheartening. You know, because their lives have been disrupted, and it will never be the same for them again.
Definitely. All right, now what about billionaire kidnapper Evans and 2 others finally sentenced to life imprisonment?
Yeah, well, that's something that we've all. It was big news back then. Everybody was talking about it, and it was on the front pages. It was on the front burner. Every discussion was headlined by that, and then everything went quiet for a while. You know, and we actually thought, at some quarters, that it was going to be swept under the carpet and that he has been released. You know, we had all sorts of stories within that period. But right now, coming out to sentence the guy to life and imprisonment, well, I think it's a good one for the judiciary, you know, because we've always had this issue that the judiciary does not mete out the required punishment for most of these things that happen.
But what about the process? Did it take too long?
Well, it all depends. You know, the judicial process, it all depends. You know, lawyers file motions, and there's back and forth, and there's this and there's that. There are things to iron out. So it all depends on how the lawyers actually stretch it out to be. But still, at least there is a conclusion to it. This is a story that we actually we followed from the beginning, and now there's a conclusion to it. Well, most likely there's going to be an appeal, maybe, and still continues.
We'll see how that
exactly
goes, because he went from pleading guilty to not guilty.
Exactly. So we'll see how that unfolds.
All right. So there's a story here that talks about the president saying it will increase, presidency will increase health sector funding. Now, there's been a lot of fracas when it comes to health in Nigeria, from NARD going to strike, that's resident doctors, and then them being poached by other countries, brain drain, a whole lot of things. And health sector and education mostly not getting enough funding.
Well, probably the issue is not about the funding, I think. Really, I don't think funding is the issue. It's how these funds are managed. That is where the problem lies. It's not allocating this money, it's not giving this money, it's not budgeting this money. It's how these monies are actually used. How do you spend them? Where do you spend them? What do you spend them on when it comes to the health sector or the education sector? So really saying you're going to increase the allocations, you're going to increase spending on a particular sector doesn't really make much sense. What we need is a plan. How do you plan to spend these monies that you're budgeting, these monies that you're allocating? How do you plan to spend them to make this thing actually better? We've been talking about this. Health issues, the health sector has been a problem that we've been talking about for a lot of years, for a very long time we've been talking about this issue. And still, every time we say, okay, we're going to spend more money, we're going to throw money at it, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But it still hasn't worked. So why not try a different tactic? Have a plan. Let's look at this thing. Where do we want to get by a particular set number of years? And then you work towards that, and then we'll see how it goes from there.
Okay, now there's actually a cartoon here. I don't know if you can see this. And it's a cartoon of President Buhari and the rocket as the electoral bill. And, holding a tab there that says the rocket signs of signing electoral bill complete. And then the rocket is actually taken off. And the president saying, Eureka, I've done it. So finally.
Yeah,
finally, it has happened. Okay, now let's move on to Trust Sports. And, I think, was it last week or the week before, where we saw a list of male athletes
Nigerians
who have actually
doping.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Male athletes.
We actually looked at that. Well,
yeah. But right now we actually have I think more female athletes who have been banned for doping violations, and like Nigerian female athletes, and they are quite a lot. Chioma Ajunwa, Tosin Adeloye, Palasha Adeabogong, Mary Onyali, a lot of people.
Yes.
Lots of females.
Yeah, well, we actually talked about this issue when it came up, and some of these doping violations are not really like doping violations per se. Some of these guys go into these things because they lack nutritionists that can actually tell them exactly what is contained in what they eat. Yes, in what they eat. So sometimes they go and they take supplements without actually knowing what is there, what composes it, what's the composition. And most of these things contain these banned substances, and they get tested, and they get found wanting. For no, it's not their fault per se, but it is something that should have been provided. I mean, if you are an athlete, you should find somebody that's actually looking at your nutrition, your diet, and everything to make sure that you don't.
But do they actually paid? Because these people also need to get paid. So do these athletes actually get paid enough?
Well, that is the thing. Those are a lot of things that we really need to look at. Well, but some of these athletes get paid not by, let's say, by their country or representing their country, or they take part in meets for their own rankings and whatnot. So they actually go there and they get appearance fees and whatnot. So if you actually are serious about what you're doing in your athletics, then you should. There are basic people that you should have around you, and when a nutritionist or somebody who looks after your diet is someone that you must have as an athlete.
Very important.
Exactly. So
it's
that
not all
person should
about
be able to look
exercising
at it.
and
exactly, and not
eating
running and
no.
jumping and doing all that. We're not saying that the athletics organizations or the associations don't have a role to play when it comes to these things. They have a big role to play. But the athletes themselves, it is your career, so you should be able to find out and know what's best for you.
Okay, now on Around and About, talking about crime surges in Abuja highbrow areas, we have writers here. It didn't make it to the front page, by the way, but then we have writers here that say victims recount ordeal, residents not reporting crimes, says FCT police. When it comes to residents not reporting crimes, we've all built like a wall, like literally a wall in our houses. Even our fences are so high up that we don't even see what is going on outside. And most times, even when you're indoors in the safety of your house and you hear someone screaming for help, you don't even bother coming out to check.
Yeah, well,
because of
he
the
doesn't want to
fear
attract
of-
unnecessary attention. You know, I mean, like if they skipped me and they're on the next person, then why should I attract attention to myself? I mean, that's the mentality that some people actually have.
And then experts have actually blamed it on influx of people and lack of proactive policing, you know, as being responsible for, you know, crime surges.
Well, in a lot of things, in a lot of ways, in a lot of things that we do, we are actually very always reactive. You know, we're never proactive when it comes to some things like this, and especially in issues like security. We're always reacting to these things and not really being proactive about it. So if we can be able to move away from that reactivity to being more proactive, I think things can be a bit better. And well, policing in general needs to be improved in Nigeria. We all know that. So that is something that can be able to bring down the crime rate, I think.
Okay. All right, now we have a special report here that talks about Sokoto IDPs, you know, the tales of displacement and despair, and, you know, mothers complaining that their girls are being raped, and, you know, and they're also at the mercy of hoodlums. It's really, really crazy. We just finished talking about how it is difficult for these people to, you know, who are displaced to actually, you know, go back to the communities and start afresh. Like, where do you even start from? How do you go about doing...
That is the problem. Their lives have actually been completely destroyed, and most of them, we talk about picking up the pieces. Some people don't even have the pieces to pick up. You understand? So that's the problem. And this IDP issue is something that we've talked about, and we're still going to keep on talking about it. These people have been uprooted from their homes. They've been taken to these camps. The people who are supposed to be taking care of them are really not taking care of them, and they are part of the problem. So it's really disheartening when you read stories like this. We just hope that these people can get a certain degree or return to a certain degree of normalcy in their own lives within the shortest possible time. We just hope that happens.
Okay. Now, there's a feature here on how a Benue woman lost 3 children to midnight fire, and she said fears of losing her children taunted her for days, even before, you know, their deaths. How could she have stopped it from happening?
Well, it all depends on what happened. It all depends on how the fire came to be, you know, if there were safety measures that have been taken before it actually happened. It depends on the remote causes of it, you know. Sometimes these things happen and there's nothing we can do about it. Sometimes it's through no fault of our own. It could be an electrical issue. It could be something left burning. So it all depends on that. So the situation determines whether or not it could be prevented or it could not happen. The bottom line is it was a very unfortunate thing. It's an unfortunate thing that actually happened, and well, we pray that she pulls through.
And then, you know, she said the children actually asked about God in heaven hours before dying. So she had to, you know, give them a pep talk about who God is and everything before, you know, they died and all that. I pray that, you know, God grants her the fortitude to be able to bear this huge loss. Reminds me of a story I heard in Kaduna a few days ago of a whole family completely wiped out by midnight fire as well. You know, okay, the dad, I think, died a few months before, and then the mother, 3 children, and 1 other family member died. So 6 of them were actually buried in the same grave. Like, you know, it's really sad.
Yeah, it is really sad. It's really sad. Well, just like I said earlier, it all depends on the remote causes of these fires. Some of them can be prevented, and some of them are really through no fault of anybody. Well, we just hope that these incidences will not be occurring at a regular basis.
All right, then talking about a physician's diary, you know, and the story for today, that's by Fatima Damagum. The story for today has to do with when doctors play God, talking about IVF and matters arising. IVF has actually, you know, helped a lot of, you know, women who didn't have hope or hope. So actually, you know, getting pregnant and, you know, giving birth. So if you want to find out more about this particular story, then you can grab a copy of Daily Trust Saturday, and, you know, I'm definitely sure you'd have a good read. And with that, we'll go on a break. When we come back, we have more issues on the front page to actually discuss. Stay tuned.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Hello, and welcome to Trust TV News Update.
I'm Zainab Bala. For more news, follow us across all our social media platforms.
The nightmare that most of these Pape residents have dreaded for many years is finally happening.
The place is a skeleton of itself, a place that was once busy with patients trooping in and out.
I'm standing right now. I'm standing on top of the Maloney Hill in the ancient city of Kefi.
Cooperation. I know communities where they are contributing to buy locally manufactured guns to defend themselves.
Being a Nigerian entrepreneur, and I am going to be taking you on a journey to show you the beautiful, the motivational and resilient nature of Nigerian entrepreneurs.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
Let's travel down to Shekau, a community in Yobe State, to talk to Shekau's mother on what she thinks about this development.
Well, even to be a magistrate is a funny thing.
Yes. Have things changed? Is there more corruption now in the judiciary? What can we do about it?
Well, this is one of the internally displaced camps here in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital.
All right, welcome back. It is still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. We'll just take a few more minutes to, check out some of the stories, trending on the front pages of the newspapers for today, and then we'll introduce our next guest. All right, so on Saturday Punch, the story of Ukraine, and yesterday, I think as of yesterday, it was it 2,000 or something Nigerians, and then today we have 5,600 Nigerians, Ukraine, who are actually stranded, and the federal government is actually saying that nothing can really be done about it right now.
Of course nothing can be done.
All airports have actually been
Of course nothing can be done. The invasion has already started. Airspace has already been shut down. Then how do you expect to evacuate people when these things have already happened? When these tensions were rising, a lot of countries were actually sending out these things, were evacuating their people, were telling their people to actually know how to move out from. Nothing was said by the federal government. The Nigerian government did not do that. It was after the invasion already started. And how do you expect to airlift people out of a country that is under attack? Definitely they'll have to close their airspace.
A Nigerian actually posted on social media yesterday on Twitter that, what they do is they actually leave via trains. They leave the city, that's Kiev, to other cities via train. And there's actually, what they do is they start with children. Children first go into the train, and then mothers, that's women. And then after women, then Ukrainian citizens that are men. And then after that, black people.
Well,
talking about racism.
They need to find ways of...
Talking about racism and the fact that in this case, because you actually have more and more people coming in, then black people are actually left behind.
Well, the thing is, it's not a question of whether you're black or you're white or you're Nigerian or you're whatever. It is a question of humanity. You understand? This is something that we do not want to see happen. Wars and invasions are not things that we want to see happen. No matter what the color of your skin is, it doesn't really matter, And the thing is, what I'm saying, or what I have said is, why weren't these moves made earlier? We all knew where we were heading towards. We all saw the signs. We knew that this invasion, there was a very high possibility that an invasion could come. And we know that when things like this happen, the first thing that happens is people shut down their borders. They close their airspace because of stopping things from coming in.
So do you think Nigerian government are not proactive at all?
It's not a question of I think. It's not a question of thinking. They were not. That's just the simple thing. They were not.
Okay, well, there's actually, talks between Russia and Ukraine. Hopefully, they settle for peace.
There have been talkings before the invasion
Yes,
started.
like right now, even now, while the invasion is on, seeing that, a lot of things are not, going the way it should and all that, seeing the consequences, hopefully.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully.
we can't help but be hopeful that,
Okay.
that a solution can be found to this.
All right, now talking about a story that Ibrahim has definitely been waiting for, our 102-year-old presidential aspirant,
Yes.
Mama.
This
saying,
is more than Mama, actually. This is Kaka. Definitely, this is Kaka.
All right, saying the president's performance is not good enough and she will do better if she's elected as a president.
Yes, I mean, like she has shown that she has longevity already. She has lived to be 102.
And she has taken care of generations,
Exactly.
her generation, her children,
exactly,
like
her
3 or 4
children,
generations.
so she has experience when it comes to managing people. She knows how to manage people. She knows how to manage resources over a long period of time. So I think maybe that's where her confidence is coming from, that she can actually hold down the nation. Maybe the population of her family right now is more than one particular local government. So she knows how to manage resources. She knows how to manage people. When we're talking about a 102-year-old person, I mean, like, how many generations can you count? How many people can you find in a particular generation? So it's a lot of people. And she knows how to handle herself. So I think she should step into the ring and see whether she or not she can be able to upstage the president.
Okay, let's talk about another presidential aspirant, Tinubu. He's on every newspaper today talking about, I don't know why, but he's talking about trying to let Nigerians know that, he's here for good and he will do better, than this present administration if he's elected, saying he's not sick. Because a lot of people have actually been peddling rumors saying that he's sick, he's frail, he's old, and he won't be able to, move the country forward or do anything.
Well, the fact that he's old is not a rumor. The fact that he's sick, that is the rumor.
But he said he actually went for a knee surgery, knee work, and he's not sick.
Okay, so he just went to...
He repaired his knee so that he can be strong enough. So that he can be strong enough, especially when...
I actually saw a picture of the Ukrainian president in full military regalia, and like he was going to the front
to
go
I
and
saw
defend
that
his
as
people.
well.
You understand? So maybe I think that maybe that's what.
And then
Tinubu's
even the
gearing up for.
Russian president, going into the gym and working out. I saw that.
He does that for propaganda reasons. But so maybe that's what Tinubu is aiming for. The bone of contention with everybody talking about Tinubu right now is because of his age. That is the main thing. People believe that he's actually old and he cannot be able to do what is required. So that's the main thing. So definitely you'll have questions about his health, his mental capacity, and all that. But if a 102-year-old Kaka can come out and say, "I want to do this,"
but the 102-year-old, can she walk?
But that is a different thing entirely. In as much as she has the mental capacity to say, "Okay, I want to do this," then
so she
of
has
course.
The mental
How many
capacity?
presidents we have? We've had presidents who couldn't walk. Not in Nigeria, but in other places we've had presidents who couldn't walk. I mean, like American president. I can't remember. I think it's Eisenhower or so. Couldn't walk. He was in a wheelchair, and that didn't stop him from being who he was. So it doesn't really matter whether you can walk or not. If you have the mental capacity to do it, then you can go ahead and do it.
Thank you, Ibrahim. All right, with that, we've come to the end of a newspaper review. When we come back after this break, we'll introduce our guest. Stay tuned. welcome to Trust TV News Update.
I'm Zainab Bala. For more news, follow us across all our social media platforms.
The nightmare that most of these Pape residents have dreaded for many years is finally happening.
The place is a skeleton of itself, a place that was once busy with patients trooping in and out.
I'm standing right now. I'm standing on top of the Maloney Hill in the ancient city of Kefi.
Cooperation. I know communities where they are contributing to buy locally manufactured guns to defend themselves.
Being a Nigerian entrepreneur, and I am going to be taking you on a journey to show you the beautiful, the motivational and resilient nature of Nigerian entrepreneurs.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
Let's travel down to Shekau, a community in Yobe State, to talk to Shekau's mother on what she thinks about this development.
Well, even to be a magistrate is a funny thing.
Yes. Have things changed? Is there more corruption now in the judiciary? And what can we do about it?
Well, this is one of the internally displaced camps here in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital.
All right, so much fun in the studio, as you can tell. It is still Daybreak Extra on Trust TV. You're welcome back, by the way. I promised to bring our first guest in, and she's here in the studio. But before we introduce her, we will be talking about hair. And I'm talking about black hair, talking about black people hair, natural hair. Okay, natural hair has actually gained popularity in the black community in recent years, and for decades many black women looked to harsh chemicals to strengthen their hair. Like, a lot of women would actually personally attest to that. Now these days, though, an increasing number of black women are omitting the chemicals in favor of a more natural approach to hair care. Now in the studio we have Adanna Ifeoma Enwezo. She's the executive director and founder of Photizo Life Foundation. It is a non-governmental organization, and she joins us in the studio and to help us, and other people like Ibrahim understand, what black hair is actually all about. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Extra.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being here.
All right. So first of all, let's start with what your foundation actually does, because you're saying we're seeing here that it's a non-governmental organization. How does that relate to beauty?
Yes. So basically, what inspired the whole startup was to raise health awareness about the toxic chemicals in hair and beauty products.
Okay.
Of course, this was done, after my personal experience with texturizers. Because they'll tell you it's mild, it's for children, so you can use it. But I tried, and it was, just as bad. And then, carrying out my research, I found out that the black hair and beauty industry was linked to a lot of illnesses like cancer, fibroids, etc. So that was what really gave birth to the organization. So raising health awareness in the beauty sector, getting people more informed about these toxic chemicals and how it can affect and impact their health negatively, and also promoting healthy alternatives. So we do a lot of workshops, master classes at our summits, festivals, expos, just to train people on how to embrace healthy lifestyle choices.
Okay, and how has that been so far?
It's been a journey. It's been a journey. There's no journey without challenges, definitely. But it's very fulfilling to see that we can actually see the impact we've been creating for the past 6 years, and just to know that we have a lot more work to do, and a lot more organizations are beginning to embrace the idea of what we do. Initially, it was just like, oh, it's a women thing, anything hair, beauty, oh, it's a women thing. No, it's not a women thing. It's a lifestyle thing, and it also affects men as well, because there's some men who use products, beauty products on the market. I've been to places where they'll ask you, what can I use to grow my beard? What can I do? I'm going bald, what can I do? So we have a lot of men who are also very interested in this. And interestingly, a lot of people think it's just a women's sector. No. Most of the cosmetic companies are owned by men. And, there's a big business opportunity right there. It's $1 billion industry. I mean, this is something you see everywhere online. You can see how big this movement is in advanced countries. And to think that in Africa, we don't have anything, we shouldn't have any limitations, especially in the case of race. For instance, there's nothing really stopping us from embracing our identity fully as Africans. I mean, all the way down to our hair texture, our skin color, and all of that. We don't have any limitations in that regard. And I think that, even if for nothing, for our health, I think we need to begin to look more into that.
When I heard we were talking about hair today, I went like, yes, now finally I can get something for my gray beard. I can I read somewhere about some sort of like a hair summit. What's that about?
So the African Hair Summit is our flagship project, and we've been doing this since 2016. It was basically what gave birth to the movement here in Africa, with more people learning about these issues. I mean, before we had like small natural hair salons doing meetups and all that, but with the African Hair Summit, it became a more global conversation. And we've had at the summit, we have like panel discussions, we have all the way down to business. So for those who are interested in starting up a business in the sector, we also bring in, for instance, NAFDAC, SON, these organizations that also play a very key role in the success of some of these, businesses. CAC, etc. We've worked with NEPC, NIPC. We're also driving investment in this sector. It's a very big, it has a lot of potential. And I believe that it has what it takes to alleviate poverty and unemployment within the society if the government can really look, more into this. And, it also sort of helps to decentralize, the conversations around the economy and, create other means of livelihoods and business, opportunities and all of that. So yes, the summit is where we have those very serious conversations. Last year in 2021, we actually did a virtual conference, because of course we had the COVID and all of that, and it was a very huge turnout. It was a very, on the screen at every time we had 400 to 500 participants, and they came in from different countries. Overall, it was almost 2,000, people who attended that. So you can imagine that people are really interested in these conversations. Everybody's hair is important to them. Everybody is particular about their look. I don't care what any man says, they look in the mirror before they step out, and when they go out, they want to create an impression. So definitely, all those things bother. It's just at different degrees. So yes, the summit is there to open up those opportunities. Also, it's a very good platform for us to raise health awareness, because there we work with the Ministry of Health and other health organizations. We bring in experts, trichologists, dermatologists, people who specialize in skincare, hair care, to actually begin to explain in details some of the ingredients we need to look out for in certain products to avoid, that are very toxic and harmful. And I think more of the problem, again, is that people tend to use some of these very toxic products on their children, because they don't find time anymore. Everybody's trying to hustle, make money, so what you find is just people looking for quick, solutions to their problems, even if it has, health consequences on the long run. So we really, use our platforms to appeal to parents, to bring in their children to our summits. We work with schools at every summit. We work with primary schools, secondary schools, because we want to begin to educate them from a very young age. Let them know that natural hair is not as, difficult as people say it is. Once you learn something, it's just like when you want to start driving. Initially, it may look like a hard task, but once you're used to it, it's easy. You don't think about it, you just think about your destination. So the same thing with your natural hair journey. All you need to do is learn the basics. how do I manage this hair? How do I moisturize it? Because once it's moisturized, it's less tangled, it's easy to comb, it's more manageable. So you find that, for instance, people just comb their hair dry, and that is a crime in the natural hair world. You don't just comb your hair dry. No, a lot of people don't have this information. As easy and as simple as it is, just sprinkling water on your hair can bring all the change you need in your lifestyle. Water is a very good hair product. It's very, very funny, but people don't even understand how easy it is to just put water on your hair, and it helps to soften, to moisturize, and helps you to manage it even before making it. So even if you can't do the water, you can get a leave-in conditioner that is good for natural hair. Have that in your hair every time. Have your hair moisturized, and it makes it more manageable. So instead of going about with dry hair, once your children come back, you're losing their hair and start combing it. These are just some little information. And if you follow us on Instagram, African Hair Summit, you get to see tutorials. We post natural hair tips. There's just a lot of information out there that you can use to on your hair journey. So yes, we're.
All right, so you, I'm actually very interested. You talked about. You will be interested. You talked about our hairs connected to our health.
Absolutely.
How?
So anything you put on your skin goes, to your bloodstream. Okay. I think this is, if they tell you normally, if you can't, what you put on your skin should be something that you can even taste, you can even put in your mouth, because it's affecting your health either way. So if it's something you can't think of consuming, you shouldn't put it on your skin or on your hair, because your hair is also your scalp, it's a part of your skin. And whatever you're putting there, imagine how we use all these very toxic products and we have burns. Have you seen people with extreme burns?
Yeah.
We're going to local, yes, and it's, we don't talk about it because it's become a lifestyle for a lot of people. You get burned today, you give yourself 2 weeks, and you feel like in the next 2 weeks, I should be okay to go get another one.
Yeah.
So it's like we're in some sort of prison. And if you don't break free, you may begin to have to deal with some sort of health issue on the long run. Some people are suffering from alopecia. This is extreme hair loss. And it's affecting the self-esteem of a lot of people. So you see women who constantly wear wigs, constantly, exactly, they have like their scarves on, and they just don't have the confidence that they should, because their hair is gone.
Okay, now you said something about, women knowing what, not just women, people knowing what they actually put on their hair. Like the ingredients they use, stay away from the toxic ones. But most companies don't actually, include every ingredient, used in that particular product. So how do they know for sure that what they're using isn't toxic?
So this is why, again, we have these events that we organize. Like I said, it's a avenue for health awareness. We have very intense panel conversations around these issues, around the ingredients in some of these products. And we also have vendor exhibitions at our events where we showcase healthy products that have been tested, tried, and that we usually encourage people come in and you get discounted products and all of that, just to encourage people embrace this lifestyle and begin to be more deliberate, about what they're putting on their hair and their skin. So yes, we use our platforms because honestly, these things are very scientific. Yes, yeah. It's not something that you just know from watching, African Magic. You have to be intentional about, setting. Just like when COVID came, everybody starts being conscious. Or what can I use? What's the vegetable to blend and drink? Yeah. What is the ingredient to do this and to be healthy? You have to be deliberate about certain things. Yeah.
Well, just to touch on what Tasha brought up. Yes, the one word that is quite popular these days right now is organic. Yes, I can just go somewhere, gather all the poison that I want to, of course, gather all the poison that I want to gather, and then I'll plaster 100% organic on it and start selling to people. So you talked about testing and finding out whether these actually continue. So what's your relationship with like NAFDAC and Standards Organization of Nigeria? Do you actually have a relationship with them?
We do have a relationship with especially SON.
Okay.
They've been at our events. NAFDAC has also been at our summit in 2019. we try to carry them along as much as possible because these business owners need to be educated. We're talking about standards, we're talking about building your brand, building your products to a point where you are export ready. So it's not necessarily about just making quick money. We're talking about sustainability. It's not sustainable to just do something because people will find out. They'll find out. And the word, thank God for the internet. People will go, somebody will go and post a review. I got this product and they said organic, but this is what it did to me. And that's probably the end of your brand. You know, so isn't it more beneficial to be on the right side of business than on the bad side? So we usually encourage all this, you know, the business owners and people who are, you know, starting up especially because they will complain about the economy. You know, we just let them know you don't have to compromise, you know, at any point. You know, it's always good to put out the best quality products and all of that because you're also impacting on people's health. We're trying to create healthy alternatives, so there's no way we're going to encourage people who haven't been tested to come and showcase on our, you know, at our events.
Okay, now when someone wants to actually keep a natural hair, would you advise the person to transition from a relaxed hair or start afresh?
Well, I did the big chop, but I usually would encourage, some people don't have that mind. Some people, you know, I did the big chop because once I found out, oh my God, these products are linked to cancer, fibroids, you know, I think it was just my reaction to just get the scissors and just cut my hair off because, so my experience was different. And that was why I started this whole movement in the first place. So some other person may not be as, you know, as bold as I was. So I usually encourage you can transition as well. It's also a very easy way to you know, embrace your natural hair. Just let it grow out and trim the edge and the tips.
I actually asked before because there was a time I actually transitioned and it didn't work out for me because
what didn't work out?
It wasn't working out. Like it still felt like you know, there was still relaxer in my hair even after 2 years. So I had to do the big chop, and it still felt that way while it was growing up. And then I just realized that I probably just had a really soft hair.
Exactly. It's so funny that a lot of people don't even know their hair type because we're so used to putting relaxers and all of that. So I think, yes, like you said, you were just now finding out your hair texture and understanding that, okay, maybe my hair texture is not a 4C, maybe it's a 3B or a 4A or something.
It's actually 4C, but it's really soft.
Okay, then
you see, that's why I said I was going to take a back seat.
Wait, hold on. If it's not 4C, what type is it?
So I'll need to see it afterwards.
Please, you will.
Yes.
That's why I said I was going to take a back seat. When you're talking about 4C and 3D and 9A.
Just to include Ibrahim, tell us about the types of hair.
Exactly, so that we can actually understand. Because
I mean, we usually have, like in Nigeria hair, we mostly have the 4C texture. We have a few people who have, you know, maybe 4B, 4A, or even the 3s. Just a few, but it's mostly the 4C texture we have.
How does a person know what kind of hair he has?
Well, that's why we have, you know, natural hair salons and, you know, people that specialize in natural hair care.
Oh, so somebody needs to tell you?
Yes. Not every time.
Not all the time.
Okay.
Once, if you have to know and you don't know, you need to be where someone can actually tell you. And it's just a one-off conversation. It's not like something you have to keep going back every time. So if you're so bothered by it, yes. And if you go to a natural hair salon, they will need to know your hair texture to be able to recommend the right products. Because what works for me, for instance, won't work for her. You know, I will need a different kind of, you know.
Exactly. So, you know, I've always thought I had type C hair, 4C hair, but you're saying it's not 4C now.
I don't think it's 4C from what you've said.
I'm trying to be personal now. So, you know, Ibrahim actually understands what I'm talking about. Do you get? Now, it's soft, right? But then it shrinks a lot. And it's like, it's soft and stubborn at the same time.
It's like you're having a very, it's like you're
confused.
Yeah. So I feel like you're actually just getting into a relationship with your hair. Like you're really just trying to understand it. And it's good that you understand it because if it's soft and maybe when there's something called hair porosity.
Okay.
You know, you need to know what type of, you know, porosity your hair has to know what kind of products to use because depending on your hair porosity, your hair may not be able to retain certain products, or it may just lose moisture easily, or it may retain a lot. So you need to know exactly what type of hair product. But these are conversations you need to have in a natural hair salon where, an expert can actually look at your hair, have some tests carried out and let you know, okay, this is the kind of hair you have. These are the kind of products you need to use. These are the kind of products you need to avoid. Because some people go natural and then they go into the market. It's like the excitement. Once you go on YouTube, you see a lot of tutorials. It's like, oh my God, I just need to go shopping for my natural hair. And you go and buy all sorts of products and they don't work. And you get discouraged and you go back to relaxers. I've seen this too many times. Oh, it didn't work. I tried. I've been there. I've done that. Please let me have my piece. So that is also part of the issue. People don't know their hair type. They just feel like, oh, because this beautiful lady is using this product, then it should work for me. No. The lady has done her own, job to find out what works for her, and it's left for you to do it. It's a personal journey. Yeah, so it's always good to know what works for you and stick to that.
Okay, now before I even ask the next question, I just want to thank you. Your talk about texturizer actually helped me because I was about to go and look for one and use on my hair. But then aside that, does what we eat affect our hair?
Of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't even... We encourage people to do more vegetables, do more green foods, do more healthy food. Of course, if you're taking a lot of soda, if you're taking a lot of even caffeine, it can affect a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, caffeine affects the skin, so I can imagine what it will do to the hair as well. You just need to be deliberate about what you're eating. And obviously, if you're doing a lot of alcohol, there's certain things that you would need to cut down on, to experience and do a lot of water. Take a lot of water. Some people are used to, for instance, eating with soft drinks every time. Once you're bringing their food, oh, get me Coke, get me Fanta, get me Sprite, get me, this. It's great, but you need to, do that in moderation as well. Take more water. It's very healthy. You see what water does to the gardens, right? You can imagine what it's going to do to your hair as well, and even your skin, your overall health. So yes.
So all this talk about natural hair has got me feeling that this is a lot of work. So what's going to stop somebody? So what's going to stop somebody from let me just shave it off and just slap on a wig and go out?
Well, I think you're speaking from a man's perspective. That's why you've shaved it all off, So, no, but seriously.
Well, you actually have more men keeping their hair.
Their hair natural, yeah. There's some men who grow long hair. There's some men who don't bother, don't care too much about it. They just want his skin every time. They have the hair, but they don't want it. So I can understand where you're coming from because there are people like you. Trust me, I've met all sorts of people. So, but it's a personal choice. What you want is different from. I have a friend who's asking, who's just there measuring his hair every day. It's not growing. It's not growing. I want to put. I want to lock it. I want to put. That's a guy. Some other guy doesn't want that. He just wants. So it's all personal. I think. What works for you may not work for the other person. It's just all about embracing your journey. But most importantly, embracing your African hair, texture, skin, loving yourself, and all of that.
All right, so we'll take a quick break and be back in a bit. Stay tuned.
That qualify Assembly forwarded for Presidential Assembly a letter dated 31st January 2022. In line with established tradition, I received inputs from relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of government after careful and thorough reviews of the bill and its implications to democratic processes in our country. It is gratifying to note that the current bill comes with a great deal of improvement from the previous electoral bill 2021. There are salient and praiseworthy provisions that could positively revolutionize elections in Nigeria through the introduction of new technological innovations. These innovations would guarantee the constitutional rights of citizens to vote and to do so effectively. The bill will also improve and engender clarity, effectiveness, transparency of the election processes, as well as reduce the barriers to the barest minimum incidence of acrimony arising from dissatisfied candidates and political parties. These commendable efforts are in line with our policy to bequeath posterity and landmark legal framework that paves the way for credible and sound electoral processes that we would all be proud of. Distinguished senators and honorable members of the National Assembly, from the review, it is my perspective that the substance of the bill is both informative and progressive. I am making this bold declaration because I foresee the great potentials of the bill. Worthy of note include the democratic efficacy of the bill, with particular reference to sections 3, section 9, subsection 2, section 34, section 41, section 47, section 84, subsection 9, 10, and 11, among others. This, however, cannot be said about one provision as contained in the proposed bill, which provision constitutes fundamental defect, as it is in conflict with extant constitutional provisions. Section 84, subsection 12, constitutes a disenfranchisement of serving political office holders from voting or being voted for at conventions or congresses of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election in cases where it holds earlier than 30 days to the national election. The section provides as follows: no political appointee at any level shall be voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the purpose of the nomination of candidates for any election. This provision has introduced qualification and disqualification criteria that alter various the Constitution by way of imposing blanket restriction and disqualification to serving political office holders, of which they are constitutionally accorded protection. The practical application of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Bill 2022 will, if assented to by operation of law, subject serving political office holders to inhibitions and restrictions referred to under Section 40 and 42 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
welcome back. And, you know, we're still talking African natural hair on Daybreak Extra. Yes, we still have our guest in the studio, Adana Ifeoma Enwezo, and we're still talking hair. And, you know, there's something, because I love hair, right? And I love long hair, right? Now, talking about natural hair, there's this myth that, you know, African hair doesn't grow that long. But, you know, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of naturalistas these days, you know, with really, really beautiful, strong, healthy, long hair. How do they do that?
This is, okay, nobody who's been to our events will say that. That's one thing I would say for sure, because we do runway shows. We do a lot of, you know, showcase when it comes to natural hair. We do like DIYs on the stage, you know, how not to. So that is absolutely not true. Natural hair grows, and it grows very, very well. Now, there's some people who don't even want that length because they feel, oh, it's going to be so hard to manage. I know someone who cuts her hair every time it grows. Like, she cuts it to a certain length where she feels, oh, this is manageable for me. Others want it very long. You know, maybe they also want to become natural hair bloggers and all of that. People have different, you know, reasons for but it does grow. You won't tell me that it doesn't. If you have the right products, if you're consistent, a lot of people are not consistent. Some people will say, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do this. They'll go to the market, they will buy, you know, products, and they use it for just 2 weeks, and their other issues in their lives would have taken over.
What about Haitians, you know, because I've come to realize that, you know, black hair doesn't grow as fast as white hair.
It doesn't grow as fast. Like, everybody's journey is different. You know, I'm always careful what I say, because I've seen people who 1 year later, I'm like, wow, all this hair, you know. I've seen people 3 years later, it's still coming up. So, but what we usually encourage is that you don't have to focus on the length of your hair. Focus on the health of your hair, which is more important than anything. Because some people almost get depressed when they feel their hair is not growing, and they look at people online. You know, social media these days doesn't help. Oh my God, when, you know, and all that. And they just feel like there's something wrong with them. We'll let you know, look, not everybody's going to have long hair. Just get that straight. My hair, I've natural for over 6 years now, and I'm not really crazy about the length. As long as I can pack it, I'm good. This is my hairstyle 24/7. So don't be crazy about the length of your hair, because it could also lead to psychological problems. You could also begin to have mood swings for no reason, and this can affect your daily life, can affect the people around you, can affect your productivity. So embrace your healthy hair journey first. If hair growth comes, good for you, but be consistent, be patient. Okay, if you want to see changes, be patient, like you said. What worked for someone in 1 year might work for you in 3 years. But the most important thing is that it happened in the end, right? So be patient and just embrace the journey.
So now, are there different kind hair products for men and women, or can everybody use the same thing?
Yes, there's no gender on products.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, what they will call beard oil might be used as a hair grow oil for ladies. It's almost the same ingredients, if not the same. It's just maybe they're just being more deliberate and, you know, looking at this for the male gender and all of that. But like, even for the International Women's Day, I have to mention this. We usually do like trainings and workshops every year during the International Women's Day, and this is to help people through their hair journey. People who are struggling with hair care and all of that. So we do that. Even this year, we're doing this in partnership with different salons across the country. So, but I can't, you know, begin to list the names and all of that. But for people who are struggling out there and are really interested in something like, it's free, it's not being paid for, they can just, we have information on our page, on Instagram, African Hair Summit, our website and all of that. So please, just by all means, we're available to help. We're available to, you know, provide solutions. You know, this is an NGO, so we're more, you know, open arms than people who are selling and buying. So yes, we're definitely happy to help people, and we're looking for people to come more to learn.
Okay, now what natural products would you advise, you know, naturalists to actually use that's not picky?
First of all, you need to have, like I said, water.
Okay.
If that should be your number one hair product. It's free. Just go to the tap, put it on, turn it, and water will just appear. You know, get water, and then you can have a good leave-in conditioner.
What about oils?
People react to oils differently, and that's why I'm very careful. But yes, you can use castor oil. Castor oil can be, a bit thick, so sometimes people use it as a hot oil treatment. But I see more people do coconut oil mixed in water. Now people go to fenugreek and some other ones. But I would say what works for you might not work for me.
What about shea butter?
Shea butter is really good. It's a good moisturizer, but some people react to it. Yes, that's what I'm trying to explain. Coconut oil gives some people acne. They use it on their hair, and then you see they have acne on their forehead every time. They don't know, why am I having acne? I take care of my skin and all, but the oil tends to get to your face sometimes, and you can react in a certain way. So these products are really good. All these products are good, but like I said, try it out, know what works for you, and stick to it. People they don't understand what it means. Once they see a new brand, a new range of something, they just want to go and try it. Oh, let me try this. I saw this video. Oh, let me try it. This lady's hair looks really nice. And then you go and spend so much money and get discouraged. So when you find what works, stick to it.
Okay, let's talk about children with natural hair. Can they use same products that adults actually use?
Yeah, absolutely. Even if a lot of these brands have a range for children, yes, they can. It's the same thing. The same thing.
So we all know how you feel about natural hair. So, but what's your stand on weaves and wigs?
Protective styling. I don't condemn it at all. Some people may not have time to make their hair and they want to wear a wig. Why not? But I'm all for, embracing your natural hair 90% of the time, and then you can have hair extensions maybe 10% of the time. That's just me. Some people, I think where the problem comes for a lot of men who complain is that, their wives, tend to want to buy all this foreign hair, spending so much money, 90% or 99% of the time. And that 1% maybe is when they're not going anywhere that you tend to see their real hair. And the thing is that anything that is done in excess, has side effects, right? So if you end up, putting a lot of wigs and all, it could affect your edges. Your hair can start receding. And you've been wondering, oh, I don't know what's happening to my hair. You're putting so much pressure on your edges every day. It's a lot. Some people use hair glues. Come on, I don't want to go into details. What we do to our hair, and then we wake up and wonder why it left. The hair is not that patient. It's very fragile. So if you put it under a lot of pressure, even you as a human being, if somebody stretches it too much, you'll be like, I beg. You cut it off, right? The same thing. Your hair has feelings.
Yeah, I get that.
What's your take on dreadlocks? Because I understand, Ibrahim wants to,
Yes, I'm thinking about dreading this up.
He wants to lock his hair.
If I look at Ibrahim, I don't know what to say because it's so skin and I can't even imagine it. But dreadlocks is cool. There's some people, if you're going to dread your hair, please take care of it. Some people do the dreads and they just don't take care of it. And it just looks very unkept. And it doesn't look good overall for your brand image as a person. So if you're going to do dreads, understand that, it's not like I'm just going to lock my hair and I'm going to rest. No. It requires a lot of care.
Does it?
You have to keep relocking. Of course. Not like, maybe every three months you can relock the hair. No, but I feel like, you probably will have time because you're on TV. So you will know that you will have to take care of it, or they won't let you into the door.
Exactly. Thank you for saying that.
So yes, dreadlocks. Locking your hair. Now we have a lot of, we have sister locks. We have different types of, locks these days. People even do the fox one. The hair extensions. It's beautiful. It's part of our culture as Africans. Yeah. So if not, why not? If not.
So what about heat on natural hair? Because there's there are a lot of products actually coming out saying heated combs for natural hair. If you want to stretch your hair and make it longer and everything, you can use that. So.
That is a very interesting one because a lot of people are suffering from heat damage right now. And the very sad thing about heat damage is that once you've grown your hair to a certain length and you begin to use excessive heat on your hair, after a while, your hair doesn't just curl back. Some parts of it is straight, some part is coiled, some part is, so it becomes, you just have to chop it off to start the process again. So a lot of people are now suffering from that because maybe there was a time a certain hairstyle was trending and everybody wanted to do that. Or like you said, let's get the hot combs, let's get the blow dryers. And even blow dryers can be very damaging because a lot of salons don't know how to take care of natural hair. It's funny, but they don't. So they feel like, oh, this hair looks tough, so let's just use the highest heat, and just deal with it. Let's, it's like a battle with this hair. This hair is fragile. In fact, African hair has more curl patterns than, other, So you can imagine that it's more sensitive. Combing it out, you have to be very careful with detangling, ensuring that you're not breaking the hair because anything excessive will break it because of the coils. So it's very important that, salon owners begin to train their staff more on natural hair care. There's a lady who just told me that her daughter's hair was completely damaged from just blow drying it every time. Now they don't know whether it's natural or if it's something else. And, it's really messed up. So you need to know that, you can do it on low heat. Low heat is good for natural hair. Just low heat, don't put it too close to the hair. Just have mercy on your hair. I don't know how else to be. People are just people are so aggressive when it comes to natural hair. No, it needs more love. It needs more care.
And I know there's actually a pattern if you want to comb your hair. You don't, because most times we're used to from roots. Exactly. So you actually start from the tip. Slowly.
Exactly.
Slowly.
Some people even finger detangle. It's easier.
So you can just do that and leave?
Yes, you can use your hands to detangle, which helps, which is actually sometimes more effective than using comb.
It doesn't brush out as a comb would.
Oh, you'll be surprised. Okay. When you have your conditioner and you use your fingers to detangle, there's less breakage because I don't know how to explain it, but it's something practical. Yeah. So if you want to use your comb, obviously you get the white-tooth comb because some people use hairbrush for wigs and they use on their natural hair. There's a lot to just know that, look, this hair is different from the white people's hair. There's a joke online where they say, you are not white. So mind what you're using to comb your hair. Your hair is not just going to glide. It's not going to glide through. You have to be very deliberate about what you're putting on your hair. So yes, finger detangling, white-toothed combs, be very deliberate about that. And also be careful about the stylist you go to. If you keep going to a certain place and you notice that your hair is breaking, you notice that, this person, your hair is not improving, you might want to, change from that.
So what's the relationship between genetics and a person's type of hair? Because I'm asking this right now because there's somebody I know who started growing bald in his 30s, and I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? And he was like, no, it's just temporary because my dad has a full head of hair, and I'm definitely sure this is just temporary and it's going to grow back. But it never did. So
I like his level of faith.
Yeah. So what's like the relationship between that?
Well, some people are, like I said, genes play a lot. There's some people that they're just born with hair. You don't try it. Don't even look there because you probably die of stroke. Some people, there's just no hair in their family. From even when their baby pictures, 2 strands. You see the pictures, just 3 strands of hair. And it never just came out. So these things are really psychological. For me, it affects people's well-being when they dwell on it too much. If you're going bald and now people do hair transplants, which I don't know.
How safe is that?
I really don't know, but I think, it depends on the person who's doing it. I think it depends on the
But I actually know of a person who did a hair transplant, and now he's bald again.
So, like I said,
so what was the point?
Like I said, it depends on.
That's the question.
There's some people who go to the dentist and, you know, what was supposed to last for a few years just falls out in a week. So again, it depends on who's doing this, I think. You know, you have to be not everybody that says shop is open is where you enter. You need to do your research, know that this person has, you know, is an expert, has specialized in this for a while. Don't just put something that is that intense in a, you know, in an amateur's hand. That's going to be very detrimental. So yes.
Okay, now how important, because, you know, you go to stylists and they tell you trim your hair. When you trim your hair, it grows longer. How important is trimming?
Trimming is really good because when your hair grows out, you can have, you know, it can become uneven. The tips can become, you know, uneven, like I said, and weak. And those weak ends can, you know, tangle easily. And that's what leads to breakage. When you're combing it, you hear that sound. It's those things at the end of the
shaft.
Exactly. So when you trim it, you find that your hair comes out a lot more. You're able to retain length, and it's just very good for the overall health of your hair. So yes, trimming is good.
All right. So
once in a while.
All right. I need to ask this. I asked this off camera, but I'm going to ask this now. Gray. Okay. What causes it?
Okay, like I said, off camera. It could be stress. It could be like we talked about, genes. It could be hereditary, and it could just be what you're eating, what you're putting in your mouth.
Okay.
So.
And then you said something very interesting about that it could be reversed.
Yes. So I'm
trying to give a lot of people out there hope.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of people out there are grey and they have not embraced it like I have embraced mine.
You're the only grey person I know.
That you know. Yeah,
oh my God.
But there are lots of grey people out there.
What I want to say, first of all, with grey hair, is that it is beautiful. Like, I've seen people with very beautiful grey hair.
Like mine.
Yes.
I don't
I
want
told
you
you
making his head, you know.
It looks good on him, though.
Exactly.
It looks good on him.
She said it.
Seriously, it gives him that, you know, big boy vibes.
Exactly.
And, you know, still very professional. You know,
I can chill with the big boys.
You can chill with the big boys. You know, so I usually say just embrace it first. It's not a disease, you know.
Because I've seen people who actually like pull out. Yes, exactly.
But pulling it out, doesn't it make more come out?
Well, that's it, yes. But I've seen like a lot of, you know, people talk about it, specialists who say that's not true. What you're doing is that you're damaging your hair follicles, and hair may not grow back there. So if you keep doing that, you know, you may be causing more problems for yourself than solving it.
So if you pull it out, there's a possibility that it might not grow back.
Absolutely.
Okay, so could that be a tactic that bearded ladies could actually use?
I was about to ask that as well.
Pull
it out so it doesn't grow back.
Oh, okay.
Ladies who have
absolutely,
like, you know.
Yes. You use tweezers now. The ones that now shave, that's the problem.
Okay.
Yes, because when you shave,
what about wax?
It comes back. Yes, you can wax. So waxing is I think it's a very safe. But I don't know how many people do that on the face, like the facials and all that. It's mostly the tweezers and you know. Now there's a face shaving thing that's trending where people shave all the hair on their face. It's amazing.
Really?
Yes.
And it doesn't grow back?
It does. The thing is that you have to keep shaving it, but I don't know if it grows back as fast. Okay. But it does eventually.
Well, usually, you just talked about it that if you trim your hair, it actually grows longer and whatnot. So isn't it the same thing with shaving?
No.
Okay.
No, shaving will, you know, not all the hair on your face is out. Shaving wakes up everything. It like when you shave, everything just, like even the one that was sleeping, that wasn't bothering you, everything just says hi, minding his business, you know. You're like, you called me. You know, I'm here. So what do you want?
I'm here now.
I'm here. I'm awake. And they come out very, you know, they may not come out like the baby, the way it was before, the baby hair.
Stronger.
They come out stronger, better. It's like, so.
Okay, now I don't remember. Did you give us a list of the types of hair?
Yeah, she did say 4C, 7A,
She didn't
9B,
say 7A, 9B.
11,
Come on.
11D.
She just talked about 4C.
We have from the 3s to the 4s, in fact. Some people will talk about their own is in 5s.
The
I don't know.
The 3s.
Yeah.
What differentiates the 3s from the 5s or the 4s?
No, it's just the 4s. It's 3s and it's the coil pattern. It's the coil pattern. Some of them are looser. Some of them are more tight. Yes. So the 4C is really tight coil pattern.
Hence the shrinkage, especially when you apply water.
Exactly, and that's where you need to be very careful because it can, break easily if you don't take care of it properly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Ibrahim?
Did I answer your gray hair issues?
No, yes. No, it wasn't for me. I have embraced mine.
People need to embrace it because I think it's a whole conversation entirely. Like if there was phone numbers for people to call in, you'll be amazed at how many people will call in to talk about gray hair.
Exactly.
Because
but
it's such a big issue.
And were you sitting here when she said something about how
I don't
the
want
gray
to
hair
hear
looks?
it. I don't want to hear it anymore.
I think you were sitting here when she said it.
The gray hair looks good on you. Exactly. I'll say it again because the world can hear it.
Adana, just before we wrap up, do you have any final words or advice?
Yes, I mean, we're here to help people through their hair journey. The good thing about what we do is that we don't charge. It's we work with partners, we work with sponsors. So
she had free and she was dancing.
Yes, because it helps. Nobody wants to be spending too much money in this economy for nothing. So it's a very important part of life, and we've come to understand how very important it is to a lot of people. They don't talk about it, even men. Men who want to act very strong and everything, they have hair issues. They don't just talk about it. It bothers them in their heart of hearts. Women, some of them are suffering. They've done a lot of hair practices that they're now living with very bad consequences. They don't know the way out. They don't know how to deal with these issues. Our platform is free, African Hair Summit, on social media, everywhere. We have our events. We have at least 3 events every year. We have the International Women's Day event. We have a virtual conference where you can tune in for 90 minutes. And we bring in experts from all over the world. They're talking to you. They're showing you practicals. It's a very intense and very educative, session for men and women. And also we have trichologists who are going to do product recommendation. They're going to talk about your hair type, talk about your hair porosity, tell you what kind of products to look out for, what types to avoid, and all of that. So, I usually encourage people, sign up, follow us, get more information on this, and sign up for it. It's free. And the festival we have in December is something that I encourage people to come to. You see practicals on stage. You see runway shows. You get inspired. Like, wow, I didn't know our African hair could look this beautiful. I didn't know we had this kind of hairstyles. So it's also to inspire us to love ourselves again, to embrace who we are, which is very important. And that's what I've been kind of talking about. Embrace your hair journey. If it's short, love it. If it's long, love it. If it's gray, embrace it. Look beautiful with it. Don't think that this is a problem. I don't know why people think gray is a problem. It's not. It's beautiful.
Just before you land, how about coloring your natural hair?
Well, if you color your hair, now there could be an issue with that because, hair dyes actually can dry out the hair. It can cause a lot of breakage and all of that. So I've seen people who totally regretted it. I put color in my hair and now my hair is damaged, totally damaged. Some people, I don't know, maybe the hair salon they go to, they're very good at advising, guiding, helping. So again, it depends on who's taking care of your hair. Some people may do it and you may not see that much damage. I think there are now some hair dyes that are also friendly with natural hair. You also need to look out for certain things. So not just anything you see in the market you buy and put on your hair, because trust me, that could be the end of your 5 years journey. You've been building and all of that. So,
and then also, how often should one moisturize their hair?
Every day, just like you drink water.
Oh wow.
Your hair needs to be moisturized. You have a spritz bottle, like the way my hair is. In the morning, I can just spray water in it, spray water and oil for those who have water and oil. Keep it moisturized. Don't let it dry out. even especially for your children. You know, people just don't take care of their children's hair. It's unbelievable. I see it every day. I go to schools, I see children, and I feel sorry for them. You know, mothers need to do more. You know, I know we're all busy and all of that. There's so much to do in the world, but pay attention to your child's hair health. It's very important because it also is going to impact on their self-esteem when they grow up. I've seen mothers who have been so deliberate, and you can see the results compared to those who haven't been. So, yeah.
So, now, final question from me,
Mhm.
all right? I just want to give people hope out there. Now, for those who have, you talked about people using products and then find out that their hair is damaged, or the color of their hair and then find out that the hair is damaged, as in seriously damaged. But you made a comment earlier that your hair has feelings, right? If you treat it well, it stays.
Absolutely.
If you treat it well, she stays.
stays.
If you treat her badly, she goes.
She goes.
Yeah, so if she does decide to go and you decide to cajole her back, will she return? So for those who have damaged hair, can you regrow it? Can you get it back?
Absolutely. Now there's a 50-50 chance that you can get your hair back if it's really damaged. Now I don't know what extent of damage, so I can't really generalize. Trust me, I've seen very damaged hair. And there's some you see and you know there's, wow, you feel hopeless.
Okay, there's no hope.
You don't want to say exactly. Just shave it and just maybe embrace a low cut, because it probably will just never grow back. I mean, they have bald spots. You know what I mean? They have bald spots on their hair. So it's like you have hair here, you don't have hair. So it's years of damage. It's come from every Christmas hair you've done, every Valentine's hair you've done. Some people do braids every 3 weeks. They don't know how to just leave their hair.
And they braid their edges as well.
They braid the edge. No, you hear stylists say, if you hold them well, it go fine. If you make them.
Exactly.
They will tell you the tighter, the nicer. But come on, that stylist is just getting their money, you know. You need to advise them when they're making your hair to leave your edges out. They don't need to do that to your edges if you have to braid. And, you know, go to people who really understand, you know, hair damage. And because some of these people in salons are just people who just learn work. You know, I just learn work for the shop, right? And they just do what they have learned. And sometimes they're not taught anything. They're not taught the basics. They just know the hairstyling. What brings the money. So you need to also guide people who make your hair. The other time I went to the salon to wash my hair, I had to tell them, because I wash my hair normally myself, but sometimes, you know, you just want to get it quickly. And I went there and I had to pat my hair in 4, you know, and all that. They were all looking at me like some strange specimen, you know, scientific experiment was going on. And, you know, I had to, you know, braid it in 4 before washing it and everything. And I conditioned it before loosening it. And I, you know, did it in sections. And they were like, wow, this is very new. We didn't know that this is how to take care of natural hair. Yes, because if you put the whole hair into you put the shampoo in there and start washing everything, it gets tangled. It gets tangled. So you need to section it. You need to braid it in 4 and 3s, depending on how your hair is.
So it can stay, and then you stay, and then you
wash it
the other.
in the, you know, wash it in there, and then when you're done,
you leave the braid on while
absolutely,
you wash it. Okay.
Absolutely, and then you put the conditioner in before you take it out. You know, so you comb it in sections. It's easy. It's more manageable. When you're done, you don't even feel anything. The hair that comes off is not even that much compared to when you're washing the whole hair. You know the way they do it, and then when they finish, they just apply it and start combing it like it's World War, you know, something. So you need to be these things are very easy. Once you learn the basics, you don't even need to stress.
Okay. All right. It was an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Adana.
I mean, I think I enjoyed myself more. If you ask me.
I think we would definitely have her again.
Yes, most definitely.
Yes,
most definitely.
I would definitely love to come back.
We
and
will
maybe
have another one.
Yeah.
All right, so she's the executive director and founder of Fortizo Life Foundation, which is a non-governmental organization. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll take a quick break and we will be back in a jiffy.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Hello, and welcome to Trust TV News Updates.
I'm Zainab Bala. For more news, follow us across all our social media platforms.
The nightmare that most of these Pape residents have dreaded for many years is finally happening.
The place is a skeleton of itself, a place that was once busy with patients trooping in and out.
I'm standing right now. I'm standing on top of the Maloney Hill in the ancient city of Kefi.
Cooperation. I know communities where they are contributing to buy locally manufactured guns to defend themselves.
Being a Nigerian entrepreneur, and I am going to be taking you on a journey to show you the beautiful, the motivational and resilient nature of Nigerian entrepreneurs.
Behind me is the Arewa Textile Mill, established in 1963 and eventually closed down in 2004.
We are still going into some other hideouts to see if any apprehensions will be made tonight.
Let's travel down to Shekau, a community in Yobe State, to talk to Shekau's mother on what she thinks about this development.
Well, even to be a magistrate is a funny thing.
Yes. Have things changed? Is there more corruption now in the judiciary? And what can we do about it?
Well, this is one of the internally displaced camps here in Gusau, the Zamfara State's capital.
Well, it has been a blast.
Absolute blast.
It has been a blast today.
Yes.
Had fun. I wish I could keep asking questions, but time is definitely not on our side, and we will have to wrap up the show as of now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will be back again on another exciting edition of Daybreak Extra next week, Saturday. I am Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thank you so much for tuning in.
So we hope you had as much fun watching as we had much fun bringing it to you. So let's do it all again next week. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for staying with us.